Sage Wanderer here, and welcome to my autobiography, The Perils of an Interesting Life. This is episode 7, Sage Gone Wild. So I guess my story starts with a cardboard box. Whenever we would move, my parents got in the habit of not telling me ahead of time. They didn't want to deal with the drama. It was just easier if they sprung it on me. There was not much I could do about it, and the next thing you know, we were on the road. So quite often, my first clue that we were moving would be I would come home, and in my military clean and squared away bedroom in the middle of the floor would be this lone cardboard box. It went like this. I was allowed to keep whatever could fit inside the cardboard box. Everything else went to garage sale, or I could give it away to my friends, or it went to an auction, or it went to the Goodwill. And it was because we moved so much, we couldn't drag things around. And even our furniture was super lightweight. My dad chose the most lightweight pine furniture, so it was easy to carry, and we could move even if we didn't have any help at all. So I found out I was moving to Medford, Oregon in the 8th grade when I came home and found the cardboard box. And so we did up and move one day in the summer down to Medford. I was 14 years old. Now, I had been enrolled for some time in Accelerated Christian Education, or ACE schools. The reason we chose these schools, they took me out of public school in the 6th grade. And one of the main reasons is because the state of Oregon did not understand our lifestyle. And also the state of Oregon was increasingly pressuring my parents to put me in some kind of government school in an accelerated program because they wanted to really push my intellect to its limits. And so it was just easier if we got out of the private school, a public school, and put me into a Christian school, because they would understand, because they're ministry-minded Christian folk. And they knew what my dad did for a living, and they were very supportive. And because he was a minister, many times we got reduced or even free tuition for me in these Christian schools. I think I'm having allergies. Sorry. So, at the age of 16, by the time I got to the age of 16, my freshman year in high school, I already had college credits in many courses, and I was definitely on track for graduating early, even before the rest of my freshman class did, but with a full high school diploma at the age of 16. And I told you about getting scholarships from these teen talent programs. In fact, I went to the teen talent competition in Kansas City, Missouri, and went to the nationals down there, and set the house on fire, yo, with my with my piano playing. And I thought I did really well. The critics, the judges, were very harsh because they didn't appreciate my style and my non-gospel-y way of playing the piano. But the people sure liked it, and I had them all on their feet, and it was fun meeting a bunch of other talented kids from around the country. And so I got a hefty scholarship just for making the state and showing up there. And when I was slated to graduate early, a meeting was arranged with me and the dean of the college, who was sending these little scholarships out to try to find talented musicians. We went straight to the source by invitation. And I was offered a full scholarship at the West Coast Bible College, which is the sister of the East Coast Bible College, which is actually the college that the lead singer from Creed was attending when he got kicked out for smoking weed. A little side note. So those are the two colleges in that organization, one on the East Coast and one on the West Coast. And I met with the dean, and I was offered a job, essentially, playing piano for their ensemble that traveled. I would be given a tutor. I would be given all of my expenses paid. I would have my own private room when we traveled. They would have basically a chaperone who was also my tutor, who would watch after me, and so because I was under 18, and all I had to do was just sign on the dotted line, and they were going to take care of everything. And my old Marine wanted to clarify. He goes, well, how much is this going to cost me? And the dean was like, it's not going to cost you a thing. In fact, just drop him off here. We'll take him. He kind of said jokingly. And my dad was like, even clothing? And then they're like, everything. We'll just take him shopping. Whatever he needs, we'll provide for him. And all he needs to do is just play piano for us, because we need a piano player, and you come along at a perfect time. So I had this big offer, and I spent the weekend at the school. And I began to realize that this was more of a indoctrination center for ministry, and it was more of a matchmaking environment for you to find your preacher's wife. So many of the young ladies who went there were going there to meet their future husbands, the preacher, at college, at Bible college, which is exactly the story of some of my preacher friends and their wives. And it's so common as to be stereotypical. And I left there with more and more the increasing belief that if I went to that college and took that scholarship, I would end up marrying a woman who would force me to be a preacher, and that it would be the point of no return. By just enrolling and showing up, it would be putting me on this fast track to being a preacher. And my secret desire that few people knew was that I did not want to be a preacher. I wanted to be a musician. So I told my parents that I don't want to be a preacher. You can't make me be a preacher. I don't have to be a preacher. I know that's what you think I'm going to be. I know that's what everyone says I'm going to be. I know that's what the prophecies say I'm supposed to be. I know that that's what all of these people have been predicting that I would be, and everyone's going to be absolutely shocked because I want to be a musician. I don't want to be a preacher. I won't get into detail too much in this video. It's for another video. But this would set the stage for the future for me and lead me down that road of wildness, because the Marine and I fell on different opinions concerning this topic. And he was not very happy that I would not attend my free ride to college. And it's one of those things that I've often kind of beat myself up for, because, I could have hung around for 4 years and got a bachelor's degree from them, and life would have been a lot easier for me than the road I chose. The road I chose turned me into the interesting guy that you're all watching right now. I can say that. I mean, that's part of it. But it was a hard road. I don't know. No regrets. I did what I did. I made the choices I made. And I made a choice that day not to go to college at that Bible college for certain. So the relationship between me and my old man began to deteriorate greatly. And so I guess I could go into detail about how I ran away from home for a while, and then I ended up coming back out of necessity. But let's just skip ahead, because they wanted to send me to art college too. That was the next move. Anything but music. And I thought, well, I'll agree to investigate the art college thing, because A, I didn't think I was a good enough artist to go to art college, and B, I figured the old Marine wouldn't be able to pony up the cost, because they were probably not going to give me a scholarship. Wrong on all counts. My scholastic efforts were enough to make them want me for art school, and the old Marine was not going to have to pay very much. That it was mostly a scholarship, or at least a partial scholarship, and the amount that they got was within his budget, and it was all arranged, and they put me in the car to take me off to art school to be a commercial artist. And on the way, I just kind of had a panic attack. I was just like, this is it. I am not going to be, I'm not going to be an artist either. I'm not going to be an artist. I'm not going to be a preacher. I'm not going to be a airline pilot. I want to be a musician. Pull the car over. Let me out of the car. We were on the way to Ashland to the art college, and I made them pull over, and I got out of the car. I started freaking out. I'm like, I'm going to jump out of a moving car. I'm not going to art college. That's it. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I'm done. Well, he kind of left me alone for a while. It took him a while to get over that. And it didn't cost him any money, thank goodness. No check was actually signed, and a mission was aborted just in time. He had one more trick up his sleeve that would come along a couple months later. He'd hit me with something that I kind of liked, that I kind of wanted to do. Because once again, he's trying to steer me to anything besides music. And so he's like, look, let's get a cattle ranch together. Because the old Marine always wanted a cattle ranch. He never got one. He always wanted one. It was always his dream, and here he was later in life, and it was a good excuse to make the jump. And he kind of got me where I live, because I love the outdoors. The idea of being a cattle rancher was really romantic to me. I really wanted to move off to Eastern Oregon and live there and work on cattle ranches, and I don't know, learn music and write and stuff like that, and live and get some real cowboy roots, some real cowboy experiences, so I could really, and so being a cattle rancher kind of fit in potentially with maybe some of that. At least I could write about the lonesome prairie or something. So I agreed to that, and we found the most beautiful place. It's a 360-acre valley in the top of the Oregon mountains near Gold Hill, and it's picturesque with an 8.5-acre lake right in the bottom of it, and a large rambling 5-bedroom ranch house with big stone double fireplaces, one facing the kitchen and one facing the back-to-back, one facing the living room, set up on a hill overlooking the pond, the lake, the 8-acre lake, and the whole front of it's glass. And sitting on top of the house was a lookout tower, and this lookout tower was all glass windows all the way around, and that was my bedroom. I got to have that as my bedroom. So I was happy there, and that's where I had my conversation with Bigfoot, if you've heard that story. If not, go check out my conversation with Bigfoot. I believe it's in Storytime with Uncle Sage folder. And, you know, it was going well for us because it was a beautiful place. We loved the house. It was wonderful. The summer was fun, but when the winter rolled around, things got weird. You know, we were not succeeding as cattle ranchers. We kept getting one more illness after another, and our cows were dying, and their babies were dying, and we were just pouring more and more money into it. And so my dad was convinced it was because we weren't working hard enough. That, you know, he couldn't admit he didn't know how to raise cows. That it's not, you don't just buy cows and have a cattle ranch, just like you don't buy a guitar and become a guitar player, a musician. You know, there's more to it than that. You don't just, you know, hey, let's get a guitar, start a band, and be rock stars. There's a lot more to it than that, and there's a lot more to being a cattle rancher than just buying some cows and putting them out in the yard. So, you know, this was a beautiful ranch. It was well equipped. We had barns, and we had plenty of feed on the property for the animals and fresh water. It was everything we needed, except an expert in cattle ranching. So it was heartbreaking. It was a struggle. The old Marine and I began to drift farther and farther apart. And because I was, at the time, I was 16. And I really wanted to meet a girl. Let's just put it that way. I was ready. I was ready for romance. I was ready for a girlfriend. That I had, you know, like I said before, a little girlfriend in every town. And if you don't count the molestation, and I don't count molestation, I was still a virgin, and I had no experience with girls, and the only sexual experience I had was with men, to be honest with you, and men and boys, and that was the pathway of the stuff I don't like to talk about. You know, we know what that is. It was in the first episode. But so yeah, I mean, I was ready for a real romance and a real girlfriend, and I had a girl in town that I was very interested in. Her name was Irene. If you would like to see how Irene and I's relationship ended, you can see that in one of my Storytime with Uncle Sage videos. That junkie stole my girlfriend. So if you want to know that, go look at the video. That junkie stole my girlfriend, and you'll get to see the story of Irene and I. But what I don't tell you is the thing in there that really, I think, was the beginning of our breakup. And maybe it's in that story, but I'll retell it again even if it isn't. Or even if it is, that her dad worked at the sawmill, and he flipped boards. They would shoot out of this machine, and they'd hit this mattress. And they're 2x4s that come out of one of the machines that my old man built. And they would come, he built sawmill machinery, and come out of there, hit that mattress, that foam pad on the wall, and almost, if it didn't blow up, if it didn't explode, and many of them did, if it didn't break into splinters, then it was a good one. And he would have to rush in there before the next one shot out. Because if you were standing there when the next 2x4 shot out of that machine and hit that thing, because they come out of there like a cannon, it was like a shoo bam, and you had to run in, grab the board, flip it over, check it, and throw it in a bin, and get out of the way before the next one flew in. And he had to run behind the safety barrier. So he was literally running all day, grabbing 2x4s and throwing them in a bin to avoid narrowly being killed by the next one popping out. Not my idea of a fun gig. That's some hard work and monotonous. And he made very good money. And Irene, his daughter, knew how to spend it. And this girl was a smart dresser. It's why I liked her. You know, she was a singer. And we were a duet. We were a romantic couple. And we played and sang together. And everyone just figured we were going to be singing preachers together. And, you know, I don't know. There just wasn't a lot of chemistry between us. And it never really turned into the kind of hot fire romance that I wanted. And that was, I look back and know that was my fault. You get out of something what you put into it, and I didn't know the first thing about how to start a fire like that. You know, I do now. I can start a fire. Let me tell you, I can start some fires now. Let me tell you. Sorry, I digress. They call me the fireman. Oh, that's my name. Sorry, breaking out in a random song. But, yeah, there was just no fire between us. And I was in her house, and she had all of these shoes. And I had applied for a job to be a shoe salesman, so I did some research, and I knew, and plus I'd been shopping with her a couple times, I knew that every one of those pairs of shoes cost between $150 and $300, that she did not buy cheap shoes. These were not Payless Shoe Source shoes, okay? These were like designer shoes, and they were almost all identical because she only had one style she liked, and that was a pump. And they were all pumps. And she had every color of pump you can think of. And sitting right next to each other was two identical pairs of blue pumps. And I look at her and I go, why do you have two identical pairs of blue pumps that cost so much money? Why would you have two pairs? There's got to be a story here. And she snatches them up and she goes, silly boy, silly boy. And she holds them up. This is blue and this is azure. They're not the same color. And I go and I pull the blinds up and I put the shoes out in the sunlight and I look at them and I go, Irene, these are the same shoes. These are identical. I think if there was a model number, they would have the same model and serial number. These are the same shoes. She goes, they are not. This is azure and this is blue. I should know I bought them. They're two different shades of blue. And I took them to the light and I could not tell the difference. I swear they're the same shoe. You can mix up the pairs and not tell the difference. And I decided right then and there that I wasn't going to work at the sawmill flipping boards for the rest of my life to buy Irene's shoes. And the rest of our story can be heard in that junkie stole my girlfriend. But I took the breakup really bad. And that combined with everything that was going on, the failure of the cattle project, the fact that I just decided that the only way that I was going to be able to make great music is if I went out and lived. I needed to go out and live my life. I needed to go out and do my thing and get some experiences so I could write real songs with real meanings for real people. And if I was going to be a rock star, I need to start acting like a rock star. So I'd been hanging out with Irene's older brother who's in his 20s. And, you know, because he was in his 20s, when he and I showed up randomly at a place that you may know. You may have heard of this place. It's called Games Emporium. It's long since gone now, but it was a big arcade with a dance floor and pool tables on Riverside Drive down in Medford. And across the street from Games was a parking lot where every wild kid in town hung out. And we would go down there, and because Hubert was older, he could buy the beer. And so I started partying, drinking beer, learned to smoke pot, and met some very interesting people. And really within less than a year from the time that I left high school, within 1 year, I would become the quintessential contact for purchase of illegal drugs and paraphernalia in the Rogue Valley. And it really was because I had a car. And that can be also, that story is told in detail in that junkie stole my girlfriend video. But I would run this courier service where I would take a little finder's fee for taking you to the dealers. I didn't handle the stuff myself. I just took you there and showed you where to go and gave you a ride to and from, and for that I got a little fee. And that's how I was living and making my living and surviving because I left home. I was living in my car, on other people's couches, wherever I could. I rarely ever went without a bed. I was usually somewhere in a bed or on a couch or air mattress. But yeah, it was a drastic transmutation, I'll just put it that way, that I mastered the art of reinventing myself when I went to 17 different elementary and primary schools. And, I was good at it. So I reinvented myself as this new character. And I had a friend. A lot of my story time with Uncle Sages are from this period. My conversation with Bigfoot, my almost got killed by hillbilly story. All of these are from this same time period. That junkie stole my girlfriend is all from the same time period. And I had some wild times. I reinvented myself. I definitely took a walk on the wild side. And by the end of that little adventure, I would be on the run from the police, is the target of an investigation into some burglaries. And, and I would avoid jail and prison. And my friend who went with me would make more decisions later on in life. His name is Kevin. He's the guy who was with me in the hillbilly story. But he made some other choices that ended up in putting him in prison. I avoided all of that by straightening out. I guess those circumstances that caused me to leave Medford and go to Texas very much scared me straight. And I went more on the straight and narrow for the rest of my life after that. So next time on Perils of an Interesting Life, you can hear about my journey to Texas. All right, see you next time, and thanks for watching.